It's the grandson of Right Thought. Welcome to the School of Marvelous Light. Consider and take inventory of your thoughts today. Consider which thoughts are temporary and which thoughts are eternal. The carnal mind is enmity against God. Carnal may as well mean temporary, temporal, the temporary mind. What you shall eat, what you shall drink. What did Yahushua say? Take no thought, you see, like I'm asking you right now. Consider your thoughts today. Which thoughts are you that you've had today? Which ones are temporary and which ones are eternal? And if you're honest with yourself, you'll realize you've had many temporary thoughts. In other words, many vain thoughts. Temporary, carnal, vanity, all means the same thing. And most of humanity is taking thought of temporary passions, how to fulfill temporary lusts. As the scripture says, you have not because you ask not, and you ask amiss, so that you may consume it upon your lusts. In other words, temporal. If a person is asking Abba for a financial blessing, are they asking him for that for something temporal, to consume it upon something temporary? The carnal mind is enmity against God, and it is not subject to the laws of God, neither indeed can be. So when you're taking thought of these temporary things, you're actually an enemy of God in that moment. You're fighting against the eternal mind. Because as it is written, there is the carnal mind and then there is the spirit mind. Let this mind that was in Christ Yahushua be in you. Well, did he have the temporal mind? What did he tell you? Did he tell you temporal things? Or did he tell you spiritual things? My word is spirit. They who worship me must worship me in spirit. That is why the carnal mind is enmity against the spiritual mind. There are two worlds that are against each other. They're opposites. They're not the same. So if your mind is set on something temporary, something carnal, something worldly, something vain, then you're fighting against the spiritual mind, the mind of eternal things. You see? So if Christ had the mind of temporary things, would he have told you, take no thought of for your life? You see how that's what he's directing you to? Is your thoughts that you have of your life, eating, drinking, wearing clothing, because the Gentiles seek after all of these things he told you. They use their mind for that. So that means that their mind is the opposite of the mind that I should have, correct? That's obviously what that means. You see? They have the opposite type of mind that I have. Their mind is on what they'll eat, what they'll drink, what they'll put on, their life. You see, vain things. One thing in particular, vain glory. Vain glory is very sneaky. It creeps in, usually unawares, and it seeks to steal a temporary feeling of glory. temporary. That's why it's called vain glory. Temporary means vain, guys. It's all the same. All is vanity if it's done under the sun. So in other words, if it's done in the flesh, then it is temporary. Now, search your own existence and see if that's what you've noticed. Everything that's being done that can be done, it only lasts for a while. Correct? This building here, it was built, but it only lasted for a while, didn't it? So it was vain. See what I'm saying? It was temporal. Your thoughts, are they? Because if they are, then you're not thinking of the Father. You're not thinking on things that are good. You're not thinking on things that are of good report. Because if I had built a structure and I saw it rust and decay, I saw all of this happen to it, then I would tell my son the truth of what happens when you build a structure. I wouldn't convince him that you could build something that could last forever, because it's not true. Solomon realized that when he built the temple. Was there any more important structure he could have built than that temple? What did he say about it? It was vanity. I looked at all the works of my hands. He didn't say, I looked at everything I did except the temple. No, I looked at all the works of my hands, and it was all vanity and vexation of spirit. You see, it's fighting against the spirit, mind. You've consumed your day with temporal thoughts, fulfilling temporal needs. And you feel satisfied when you go to sleep that night, fulfilling a temporal need, like you're playing The Sims with yourself. And when you're playing The Sims with yourself, you'll realize your little meters, like hunger and fun and social and all that, using the bathroom and all that, those meters, you'll fill them up until they're full and green, but you'll realize that they'll start to fade all the way back down again. They'll turn yellow, and then they'll turn red, and you'll have to fulfill a need. And so it is with the flesh. Flesh, carnal, worldly, temporal, vain, all synonyms. So it is with the flesh. Fulfilling those needs on a daily basis so that you can go to sleep feeling well pleased with yourself. I did good today. All my needs are filled. When you wake up, they'll be calling again. When you wake up, they'll be calling again. You take a shower, you wash your body, you get it pristine clean. You go work out, you'll need to take a shower again. You'll eat the best meal you've ever had in your life. It'll taste the most delicious, succulent that you've ever had. And you'll have to go and do that again when you get hungry again. What do I want to taste this time when I fulfill that need? I think I'll have some ribeye. Then you get hungry again. I think I'll have some tacos. Then you get hungry again. Then I think I'll have some pizza. Then you get hungry again. Come on. That's what y'all are doing with everything. If you're in the world, that's what was written in Romans. That's what it was about. This is what we're describing here. Your day is filled with you thinking about temporal things. And if you're doing that, then you're an enemy of the kingdom. You're an enemy of God. You're an enemy of Christ. You deny the Spirit of Christ, which is in you when you do that. You deny that the power to fulfill whatever it is you need is within. Christ said, I came to fulfill. See? So if he's in you, he'll come to fulfill what you need. He said, I come to give you rest. If you eat my bread and drink my cup, then you won't hunger or thirst anymore. I come to set you free from that law of sin, which has you chasing those things. I set you free. You don't have to chase that. The body is dead now, but the spirit is life and peace. Is that not what's written? So those who walk after the Spirit don't mind the things of the flesh anymore, which means they don't think about that they're going to eat. They don't think about clothes. They don't think about flesh. Let's just sum it all up in this saying. They don't think about temporal things. They don't think about worldly things. They don't think about fleshly things. They don't think about vain things. Easy to be understood. They're thinking about eternal things. Now, if you can't name any eternal things, then that proves you haven't been thinking about the eternal things. You've only been thinking about the temporary things, which I can assure you, you can name many of those. If the Spirit of Christ dwells in you, then why do you cry out for a need to be fulfilled if Christ dwells in you? You understand that? He said he came to fulfill. So let him fulfill. Let him fulfill. I won't even take thought about it anymore because you're going to fulfill it for me. Yes, I am. I come to give you rest. I'm a servant. You see? You see? And it's all about your mind, because that's what Paul is talking about in Romans. The carnal mind and the spiritual mind. Now, they who are chasing after temporary things, they think about temporary things. But those who are chasing after eternal things chase after or think about eternal thoughts. You understand that? That's why his name is I Am. I Am is eternal. When does I Am begin and when does I Am end? You can bake your noodle all day long until it's burnt to a crisp. You won't be able to answer that question. I am always existing. I am always existing. It means I'm presently doing, so that I'm existing. Okay? What the Father name mean? See how I go? You see how I go? So if you're thinking about that all day long, meditating on his name, meditating on the truths of his name, now you're spiritually minded. Your being is spiritual. But if you're thinking about eating, if you're thinking about drinking, if you're thinking about clothing, if you're thinking about physical things that are all temporary, then you are no longer spiritually minded. You have fallen from grace. You see? Christ came full of truth and grace. Now you have fallen from grace, from Christ within, because you're looking outward. You're looking at the 3D world. If you're not looking at the 3D world, then you're not thinking about 3D things. That's how it all goes. Where the treasure is, So whatever you think is important is what you put your mind on. What are most people's mind on in this world? Well, let's make it very simple. Getting some gain, filthy lucre, money. Now, why is it their mind on money? Money on my mind. I got money on my mind. Laid back, sipping on gin and juice. Laid back. Okay? Money on my mind. With my mind on my money and my money on my mind. Ain't that what he said? Okay, so your thoughts are on something temporal. Because this money lasts forever. Y'all all will say no it doesn't, but you'll all think about it again after this message. Y'all will all start thinking about it again. Well, that's because you're temporally minded. See? You're worldly minded. You're fleshly minded. And you believe that if you accumulate lots of money, then your needs on those little bars there on your sim will be filled and stay filled. You can put the cheat code in and get a whole lot of money and fulfill all the needs that keep you happy. But if you notice, the sim going to get old and the sim is going to die. So all of that effort, work, and perfection you put into the discipline into it and everything, What did it profit you? Nothing. It was vanity, just like Solomon told you that it was. That's why Paul said to be carnally minded, so to be temporary minded, fleshly minded is death. How much clearer could he have made it? To be carnally minded is death. So you think you're doing something to keep you alive. Now, what did Christ say? You seek to save your life, you'll lose it. So you think you're staying alive because you're thinking about your food, your water, because that's what keeps me alive. So I'm thinking about that stuff. When he says you're seeking to save your life, you'll lose it. Now, what did Paul say? To be carnally minded is death. 2 plus 2 is 4. It's very simple and easy, not even hard. You're thinking about that stuff, thinking that it's going to sustain your life, but meanwhile, it's not. Because that isn't your life. You just think it is. You've been convinced that it is. But every time you give heed to a temporary thought, you are stealing. You see, you're robbing yourself. The thief comes not but to steal, kill, and destroy. To steal, to kill, and destroy. So the temporary thoughts, the temporary mind does nothing but actually steals from you. And I would say, if it causes death, then that pretty much makes it pretty simple. That it's stealing, it's killing, and it's destroying. If it in itself is death. So then if I give myself to it and I start doing it, then I'm putting myself in death, aren't I? Aren't I? Well, if you say, no, I'm not, then why did Christ say, don't do it? See? If he's telling me not to do something, then me doing it must cause me harm, or else he wouldn't say don't do it. So if he says take no thought for your life, then that means taking thought for my life causes me to have harm. Well, he said seeking to save their lives, they lost them. But if you give up your life, which means you give up those thoughts of how will I eat, how will I drink, how will I live, you've given that up. And because you've given it up, you've now found your life, which is I am, which is eternal. Doesn't need food, doesn't need drink. That is your true identity. Well, where is our identity hidden? The same one that told you don't take no thought for your life. That's where your identity is hidden, in him. And in him was life. He's the light of men. He illuminates who you are. He tells you the truth of who you are. You see? No longer that liar who gave you false light, who told you a lie of who you were. Take thought of what you'll eat. Take thought of what you drink. Take thought of your own life. Those are opposite commands to what the master told you. He's teaching you opposite. The God of this world, that is. But Jacob is the world that followeth it. So whoever ruled in this world got to go along with his world. You see? Because the new baby's born now. The new kingdom, the truth, the new body, the new identity. You see? Just like it said about you and your body. That when you came into the knowledge of the truth, that your fleshly body would be swallowed up in the truth. And it would be regenerated and resurrected. See? See? But that can only happen if your mind is stayed on Christ. Is stayed on spiritual things, eternal things. It all depends on where your desire is. See? If you desire temporary things, that's all your mind is going to be filled with. That's it. You're going to find ways to obtain it. You're going to figure ways to obtain it because your heart is set upon it. What does it say about a man's heart being set upon earthly riches? See how you were all warned against this very thing I'm describing? Those things that we see, are they temporal or eternal? The things that are visible, that we can physically see. It is written that they are temporal. Now, what about the invisible things? Those things are eternal. So do you need to be thinking about physical things you can see or things you can't see? Now, how many people do you think are thinking about physical things that you can see? 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 Would somebody kill, steal, or destroy unless they desired something that they could see? What do you think? Can you steal something that's invisible? Can you? So then how are you going to be a thief if your mind is set on the invisible things that you can't find here? How could you steal something here if your mind ain't on nothing here? See? But that fleshly mind does desire the things of the flesh. See how this is all going? And so he steals to obtain it. What does it say? He comes not but to steal, kill, destroy. See, that's it. Your fleshly mind. When he sees something, that's what he's going to do. Steal, kill, or destroy. That's it. That's why Christ warned us all about doing it. So to end this message, take inventory of your thoughts and bring all your thoughts captive unto Christ. Now you see why the scripture tells you to do that now? That is a man's true labor. That is his true gardening. That is what makes him a husbandman, is tending to the garden of his mind. Because that's where the choice is made, as we just proved. There's a spirit mind, a carnal mind. When you wake up, you have a choice. The master reminded you of what to do, but you will be tempted, see, by something temporal. And so if you remind yourself of the truth of the temporariness of what you're facing, your fear will leave. Your fear will go away. Perfect love will succor you through your fear. But if you turn from Christ and you heed not to Christ, then you will believe the thing that you're looking at, even though it's temporal, and nothing can change that. Y'all understand that? Nothing can change the temporalness of the 3D object. It is what it is. So those things that are invisible, can you name them? Because if you can't name them, then your mind has not been set on them, like I've said earlier. What are you searching for with your mind to turn from the carnal thoughts if you don't have anything to search for? In other words, you don't know what target to aim at in order to shoot. You're just told to shoot. You're telling yourself to shoot, and you don't know where to shoot. Because when you got hungry, you were used to doing carnal things to eat. When you got thirsty, you were used to doing carnal things to drink, even if that took stealing sometimes. See what I'm trying to say to you? Even if it took to kill or destroy sometimes. See what I'm saying to you? So that's all it is for each and every one of us. And many of us have already made their choice to not pull themselves away from the trough of the 3D temporal slop. They are still feeding there because they still believe it's food. But the master said, I got some food here, and I'm willing to give it to you and fill you up. And you'll never be hungry and you'll never be thirsty if you're willing to receive it. And he who can will. And he who cannot, I guess he will just reject it. You see? He will go on in his way, believing that he's protecting himself, believing that he's saving his life, when he is indeed losing it by doing the very things that he thinks are saving it. So consider those things today, little flock, and take inventory of your daily thoughts. You're gardening in your garden. You have eternal flowers you can plant, and you will reap in eternal gladness. Or you can sow temporal plants, and you can have temporal gladness. It's really up to you. What seeds are you willing to plant today? Eternal seeds? Because you reap what you sow. You see that? You reap what you sow. And if you want to be subject to that law and reap the benefits of it, well, let's say if you want to reap the benefits of it, then you must become subject to it. And the only way you can become subject to that law, you reap what you sow, is to come out of the carnal mind. Because as long as you're in the carnal mind, you're only going to reap temporary blessings, a feel good feeling for a moment. Because as we say, feelings are fleeting. It's a vapor. It comes, it goes. It comes and it goes. And that's all that it does. It never stays. So then it never brings satisfaction. You see, which is what we're all looking for. Satisfaction, eternal satisfaction. Well, Christ says he got that. And if you come to him, he'll give it to you. That was his promise. So I'm just here to bear witness to it, that it is indeed true. And it will transform you. The way you think and feel about your being will be transformed, and all fear and all doubt will leave. All fear will be gone, and perfect love will come in and rise you unto the stature of Christ himself. Siloam, little flock. Peace.